Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is DVD Collector 1986 here with a new video for you. This is going to be my 13th video that I'm going to upload to YouTube. So I thought it would be fitting, since it's the 13th video, to do a ranking of all of the Friday the 13th films. So coming in at number 12 would be Jason Goes to Hell. I enjoyed Jason Goes to Hell. However, it is my least favorite out of all of them. Now, I did enjoy the addition of the Creighton Duke character. He reminded me of Dr. Loomis a little bit. He's like the tracker and the pursuer of Jason, and he knows Jason's weaknesses and how to stop him. I didn't enjoy the whole body snatcher element of the movie, but I respect the makers of the film for trying to do something different. There's also an Easter egg. You'll see the Necronomicon, which is the Book of the Dead from the Evil Dead films, makes an appearance in this film. I won't tell you exactly where. Go back and watch the film, and if you're paying enough, attention, you'll catch it. Coming in at number 11, Jason X. Some people might be wondering, why was this not the movie that was in the number 12 spot? It's a movie that totally went off the deep end, but it's got some good special effects. And I like the idea, as goofy as it is. I like the idea of Jason in space, and you've got Kane Hodder in there, so it's watchable and it's a fun watch. Jason X gets my number 11 spot, and coming in at number 10, Freddy versus Jason. Some people hate this movie. I don't hate it that much. I actually rather like it. You've got Robert England as Freddy. You've got. I didn't like that they got another guy instead of Kane Hodder to play Jason, but I can live with it for this film. I really enjoyed how in this film they combined the mythos and the stories of both of these characters, but they did it in a way that respected and didn't mess with the mythos of either character. I think that this movie, it's not the greatest film. No versus film ever is. The biggest thing about this movie that I didn't like was the geyser blood effects, or the water spigot blood effects. Someone gets just a cut on their arm and blood starts spraying out when Freddy and Jason were fighting. That was a little over the top to me. But other than that, I enjoyed this film, and just like Jason X, this movie is just a fun watch. Coming in at number 9, this is going to surprise some people, is the first Friday the 13th. It's a good film, but I think my biggest complaint I have about it is that Jason was not the killer in it. I like my Friday the 13th movies that have Jason in them. I mean, there's not much I can say about the movie that hasn't been said. I'll just say that it's not one of my favorites. Although I did like the Crazy Ralph character. He's always fun to watch. Coming in at number 8, this might also be a shock. Friday the 13th Part 2. Now, it's a good movie. It's got some really cool kills. Um, and it's got Amy Steele in it, and you get Jason for the first time in this. But the one thing about this movie that I didn't like was Potato Sack Jason. I like the hockey mask, not what was in this film. Otherwise, it was a good movie, though. Coming in at number 7, Friday the 13th Part 3. This is when Jason gets his hockey mask for the first time, thanks to Shelly. There's a motorcycle gang trio that messes with the kids in this movie. They harass them a little bit. They try to steal their gasoline, siphon it out of the vehicle, and the guy that siphons the gasoline does so while he's smoking a cigarette, which is not very smart. You You get to see Jason wearing the hockey mask again. It's got great kills, but to me, it's one of the weaker uh, movies in the franchise. The thing I remember most from this film is when Jason kills that guy when he's standing on his hands, walking around, and Jason splits him in half. That was crazy. And then when Jason uh, reaches in the van to try to grab the girl, I forget what her name is, but it's a famous picture where you see this. It's a side profile, and Jason's reaching in to get her. That scene was really good. Coming in at number 6, Friday the 13th, Part 5. From number 6 onward to number 1, these are the films in the franchise that I absolutely love. And like, I might not watch these other ones very often, but from this point forward in the list, I watch these films every year in October. It's different because it's not really Jason in it. However, to me, the first time I watched this, the whole time I was watching it, I thought it was Jason. Up until the very end, when you find out it isn't Jason. Up until then, I thought it was Jason. So I kind of didn't like the ending, but I loved everything else about the film. I liked the old lady and her son that lived next door to the halfway house that were always um, picking on those kids, and the kids were always picking on them, and they were always like harassing each other, causing problems for each other. This movie had a lot of funny parts in it too, and um, I, you know, this is one of those movies that hardcore Jason fans they'll either love this film or they'll totally hate it. And I rather like this movie. Coming in at number 5 would be the Friday the 13th remake from 2009. I really enjoyed how they gave Jason a malevolent intelligence. They made him fast. He could run. He was like a hunter, survivalist type that lived off the land. The camp had these underground cavern passageways, and so realistically, that's how they explained how Jason could get from one spot to the other really quickly because he would use these underground passages. It's kind of an amalgam of the original first 4 films, kind of meshed into one film. They referenced the first movie, the second, and so forth. The one thing in this movie that I didn't like, but I think they made it where you weren't supposed to like this, was that guy. I don't remember if his name was it Travis or Trent. I don't remember. I think it was Travis. But that blonde headed boyfriend of that girl, the guy that he it was his cabin that they went to stay at. God, I did not like that guy. Oh, he was annoying. Coming in at number 4, Friday the 13th, Jason Lives. This is the first film where they show zombie Jason. I love all the Friday the 13th with zombie Jason in them. Those are the ones I watched the most as a kid. Tommy is in this one as an adult. He lures Jason into the lake with the chain around his neck and the rock at the end, basically to trap him at the bottom of the lake. And I thought that the cemetery caregiver was hilarious. If you go back and watch this film, you'll notice that this movie pokes fun at a lot of horror movie cliches. It pokes fun at itself. It pokes fun at other horror films. And that's what I like about the Friday the 13th films. Like the Halloween movies, rather, they're kind of, for the most part, um, they're pretty much serious films. From part 1 to part 6, they're pretty serious. After that, not so much. But with Friday the 13th, these movies are just funny. You you can have fun with these movies, and they can be funny, and even though they're horror films, and that's why I enjoy watching Friday the 13th so much. Coming in at that was number 4. So now coming in at number 3 is now the top. These are my top 3 favorites. Okay, I really love these 3 films just about the same. But coming in at number 3 is Friday the 13th Part 7: The New Blood. You've got Kane Hodder playing Jason for the first time. I think Jason looks the best in this film. Every bit of damage that was done to Jason in the Friday the 13th prior to this film, all the different injuries that he received were shown on this version of Jason's. Tina, she has telekinesis, so she's a good adversary to Jason. I just really liked how she fought Jason when she's got the tree roots coming up out of the ground to get him. She makes a couch fly across the room and hit him, and a bunch of other things. And I really enjoyed this film. The one thing that has always been kind of a mystery is they never tell you exactly how many years it's been between this film and Friday the 13th Part 6. Coming in at number 2 is Friday the 13th Part 4, also known as the final chapter. This is the first introduction of Tommy. I really liked Jason in this one. He's got the long fingernails. This is the movie where supposedly they were just going to kill him off at the end, but they decided to keep going after this. So the final chapter really is not the final chapter. But this is one of my all-time favorites of the series, and I think for fans of the original Paramount Friday the 13th, a lot of them, not everybody, but a lot of fans would say that 4 is probably their all-time favorite. Great old school mid 80s slasher. I love all the slashers that took place in the 80s. The 80s were like the golden age of slasher films. And this might come as a huge shock to people. And if you've been keeping track of the movies I've mentioned, there's one more I haven't mentioned. Coming in at number 1 is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that absolutely hate this film. I love it. I love that they did something different. Instead of Crystal Lake, Crystal Lake, Crystal Lake, Crystal Lake, they took a chance, and he starts out at Crystal Lake, but then he kills some people on a boat, takes their boat, and somehow using smoke and mirrors. This movie's got a lot of plot holes and it has a lot of problems. But somehow the boat that he stole ends up in the ocean, and they go to New York. He hops on a cruise ship um, with a bunch of graduating high schoolers and essentially becomes a stowaway on the ship. And he most of the movie takes place on the boat. Now, a lot of people have complained that this movie should have been called Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes a Cruise Ship, because they didn't have the budget to film so much in New York, so they had to do most of it on the boat. Now, a lot of people didn't like that, but I'm actually one of the people that says that, in my opinion, I like the fact that most of it took place on a boat. Go back and watch this film. The boat is creepy, it's eerie, it's claustrophobic. And imagine if you were caught stuck on a boat out at sea during a nasty thunderstorm out in the middle of the ocean. You know, if you know anything about Jason, even if he jumped in the water and tried to swim away, you would either probably drown because of the storm, or Jason being supernatural, he would just appear in the water and pull you under. So jumping off the boat isn't really an option. And number 2, if you stay on the boat, well, you're stuck there with him. You have nowhere to go. You're stuck on a boat. He's stuck on the boat. And no matter where you go, eventually he's going to find you because you're on this boat. This, bear in mind, this is the first Friday the 13th movie I ever watched. As a child, when I watched it, this movie scared me half to death. Um, a dead guy comes back from the dead wearing a hockey mask and kills people on a cruise ship one by one, and there's no escape. That's scary. I mean, at least at Crystal Lake, yeah, he knows everything, where everything is at Crystal Lake, but at least at Crystal Lake, you can run away. If you're smart enough, you could, in theory, run away from Crystal Lake and just leave, be it in a car or on foot. You could actually go somewhere else. But when you're stuck on a boat, you're stuck on a boat. That's it. you know, that's why I love the atmosphere in Friday the 13th Part 8. And I like how they actually filmed the scene in Times Square. And so some of it did get filmed in New York. And for the other scenes, it was, I think it was Vancouver, Canada, um, that they used as a double for New York. But they go through the subway, they end up in the sewer. He chases them through a restaurant at one point, and like I said, they go down into the sewer at the end. And I just really liked this movie, and as a child, and even now, I still do. It's my most favorite Friday the 13th, and um, I thought the music in this was really eerie. There's just something about boats. I think one of the reasons why this movie scares me too is because I have a fear of water. I've always had a fear of water. Drowning at sea would be one of the scariest ways to die, especially if you're on a ship and the ship is sinking and you can't get out. I think that's why this movie connected with me and scared me so much. But I love Friday the 13th Part 8. It's my favorite. That's why it's at number one. And it's not as bad a film as people say that it is. Matter of fact, I'll show you guys something. If you look right over there to my, well, it's on the left if you're watching the video, but to my right, I have a huge 24 by 36 inch poster, original movie poster of Friday the 13th Part 8. So I actually have that poster here in my room. I hope you guys enjoyed my ranking of the Friday the 13th films, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.